Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on CSR, and the topic of my today's lecture is present state and future trends of CSR. Because after having discussion on the different dimensions of CSR, ranging from the models, theories, practices, the different reporting initiatives, a very pertinent and prominent question comes to us that, sir, what is the present state of CSR? At global level, and what can be the possible future trend of CSR, because now this topic, since it has reached to the level of almost maturity, and almost every country is looking forward to contribute to the social well-being of the people, society at large, or society at large. So this question is supposed to be very genuine also, that what is the present state of CSR and what is going to be the future trend. And when we discuss about the present state and future trend, it helps the policy makers in formulating their strategies, and it helps them in introspecting that what can be the possible change in their modus operandi when it comes to implement a specific CSR project in a specific area in a specific country. So what is the ground reality? I'll be telling you what are the future trends, and can CSR address the entrenched social problems? That is also a question. That do you think that after having this kind of agenda, their plans and the different projects, CSR can address to the entrenched social problems? What is the answer to this question? That we will try to find, and eventually we'll talk about the 7 reasons why CSR matters. There are 6-7 reasons due to which CSR is gaining huge prominence across the globe, and we shall conclude the topic by discussing the key trend in the area of in the field of CSR. So when we talk about the plight, the present plight and future of CSR, there is a question mark on a specific discourse, that is, how is CSR viewed now, and is there a future for it as a concept? Some people think that CSR is going to lose its relevance in due course of time, whereas the other segment of the academicians, the practitioners, they feel that no, it is going to become more strong and in terms of its contribution and towards the well-being or welfare of the society. So if we look at the opinion of the sustainability experts, they basically believe that in next few years these multinational companies, they would become the key drivers of the broad scale collaborations for the purpose of advancing sustainability, and it would be followed by NGOs and multilateral organizations. So they are saying that these experts, they believe that when we look at the sustainability, when we look at the CSR, nowadays companies, these multinational companies are contributing, and they would become the key drivers of broad scale collaborations, and it would be followed by the NGOs and multilateral organizations, because once the companies, they are able to do so, it would be adopted, it would be followed by the other NGOs and multilateral organizations. And why they would follow? Because they are having limited resources as compared to their counterpart in terms of multinational companies. So the ground reality is that there is an agreement, strong established agreement, that these companies, they need a longer term CSR strategy. Most of the experts from the industry as well as academia, they agree to this point, that the companies, they need a long term plan, long term strategy. They need a vision for the CSR, and the question is not about the profit itself, but how you make your profit, that is more important. So at this point of time, now the society is not satisfied with the only fact that this X company is spending some amount for the social welfare. No, that is not the only thing with which the society or at large, or experts or academia, feel that they are going to be satisfied. They basically say that the question is not about profits itself, but the question is that the way you are making your profit, whether that profit is earned by the ethical ways or means or not. So we all know that every company is supposed to be an economic entity. Their objective is to make profit, because unless they are able to make profit, how would they survive? So profit is basically a survival source of survival for a company. So the profit making is something which is not at all prohibited or restricted for a company, because unless they make profit, how would they contribute? So making profit is basically what you call in Indian language, we would say that it is their dharma, it is their duty to make profit. But and why would they need to make profit? Because they have to reinvest, they have to increase the size of the company, they have to basically create wealth for the company. But if you make them by the ways, for instance, if we take example of Enron, by tricking the system or by taking system for a ride or increasing the inequalities in the society, then you are not going to survive as far as CSR is concerned. So the entire discourse on CSR is going to take a paradigm shift in terms of the perspective. The reality is, the ground reality now is that if you are contributing towards the welfare of society, this is something which is the bare minimum contribution of a company. This is something which in any case you are supposed to do. But the second level question, or the question of second generation, is the way you are making profit. Are you making profit by some negative ways and means? If it is so, then your contribution is not going to be taken positively. So your company as an entity will not be able to survive, even if you are spending some significant amount of your some significant portion of your profit on the developmental activities which are good for, which are basically targeting towards the social welfare, or what you call as social responsibility. So that is more important. So companies, what is the solution to this? The solution to this specific situation is that you as a company, you have to continuously and consistently, you have to analyze your business case, your investment in social issues, and you have to consult your stakeholders. So it is not like that you have implemented one plan, you are contributing towards one of the segment of the society, say for instance health or education. You have decided that I will be spending some amount for the health or education facilities in my area, and my contribution is over. So that is not going to help them surviving for long. If you really want to survive in the long run as a company, your investment is supposed to be done in an ethical manner, in social issues, and you have to consult your stakeholders. You need to know what my stakeholders want, what they wish, what is their expectation from the company in terms of CSR. And if you look at the big companies, the large and well-known companies, they are also aware of this very fact. The pure pursuit of profits is not going to take them anywhere. That if they are surviving with the goal of making profit only, they are not going to survive. In fact, the big entrepreneurs, they have their own level of social consciousness, and because they were always interested in their legacy. If we look at the leading names across the globe, think of Bill Gates or Henry Ford or Rockefeller, or if you talk about Indian scenario, there are a number of companies which are contributing towards the social welfare of the society. But if you talk about Tata, as far as India is concerned, these are the names. They are basically interested in their own legacy. If we take example of Indian scenario, the Tata is basically regarded as one of the most ethical company, and they are basically contributing towards the well-being of the society. They have developed the entire city in the name of Tata Nagar. So these entities, and not only Tata, even the other corporate entities, they are contributing towards the social welfare, and they are not only interested in spending some part of their profit on listed CSR activities. They believe in their own legacy. They run extra mile. They spend more than 2% of the stipulated amount. Number of companies are there. I only took one name, but there are number of companies. Although in academic discussions we should avoid taking those names, but as a learner you need to know those companies, at least some selected companies, where you can go through their reports and understand the way they are contributing. So the question comes, can your CSR activity is going to address the entrenched social problems, the rooted social problems? Answer is yes. There is no doubt on this that the public sector, the UN and NGOs, they cannot tackle the big problems of development on their own. If you feel that your specific government at the level of your country, at the level of your nation, and globally the UN and the international agencies, international NGOs or the NGOs of your own country, they are going to tackle all the big problems of society, it means you are making a mistake, committing a mistake, because their resources are limited. Problem is of great magnitude, and that is why it requires solution of that level only. So these companies, the government entities, the international agencies, the NGOs, they can contribute in their own ways, and manner. But what about you as a company? The number of the number of companies is sizable. So if a specific work is performed by a specific government or an NGO, and on the other hand we have, say, 10,000 companies operating in your country and they are working, so 10,000 hands are going to make a big difference. So there are many NGOs, they are doing great things, but they cannot reach everyone in every community. Although government, people say that government can, but it is not the only responsibility of the government. Government is basically working as a representative of its own general public as far as democracy is concerned. So CSR is going to address, if we take example of education and skill provision for young people, it has to be a government issue. Yet governments, they should continuously and consistently work with private sector to ensure that appropriate skills are being taught. And CSR is here as a remedy to take care of these big issues, and they can contribute to these mentioned public-private interface. So we talked about the public-private interface here. We need to understand what is that. So we have to first take this thing out from our mind that government and private entities, they are competitive in nature, they are opposite to each other. No, they are basically complementary to each other. They are not competitive. They are contributing in their own ways. Government is contributing in its own way, and the private entities, the corporate entities, they do contribute in their own manner. So if we look at countries like, say, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore and Malaysia, you would find that they have been successful in reducing their poverty, and it is clearly visible that they had a massive investment in education and training, but they have also allowed the private sector to take off. They are basically contributing, their government is contributing, and along with that the private sector is also working for the welfare of the society. Although the growth of CSR is occurring against a backdrop of increasing inequality, which is unacceptable, and that can only be addressed by the government involvement, because if your CSR is growing and you are doing everything positively for the welfare of society, but you are not able to somehow address to the issue of rising inequality, and for that the only solution is the intervention of the government. So at some point of time, at some places, the presence of government initiative is necessary, but we cannot deny to the contribution of corporate sector, to the private sector, companies. So governments and international agencies, they should look at the different fiscal systems, and what is their duty. They need to point out what exactly need to be done in order to improve the condition of social enterprises. And if you operate a market economy, you also have to provide incentives, and we all know that not everyone can be a form of social welfare or dependency. So happily, there is no doubt that there is a strong current of social responsibility, sometimes also called sustainability, across the world, even in the poorest and most troubled nations. So the current situation is that companies are corporate entities. They are supposed to go hand in hand with the government and NGOs, so that the social well-being is ensured at all levels. Now the second question comes, why CSR? There are, if we look at the relevant literature on the topic, there are different researches on this, citing numerous reasons for that. But I could found some common ones, and there are 7 reasons which you can assign as reasons for why CSR matters. So the first one is for moral and ethical reasons, to do the right thing. The first and the foremost reason which I could find from the relevant literature on CSR, that what is the raison d'etre or what is the rationale of having CSR, it is basically the moral and ethical reason to do the right thing. That if you have CSR is there to ensure that the company is making profit in an ethical manner. The ways and means are ethical, or you can say that to do the right thing. The second important reason which comes in front of us is for sustainability of the markets that companies rely on for their income. So the sustainability of market is another reason that market should have a sustainable environment where companies can rely on for their income, that my income will be constant and consistent. So this is another reason why CSR is needed. Third one is in order to ensure that the brand image and reputation of my company is going to be on the positive side. And if we look at the statement of Warren Buffett, we find that he has said that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So what you have generated in the time span of 20 years, it can become zero in fraction of minutes. I would not say seconds. Within 5 minutes, somebody can ruin it, or even one wrong step of the company can ruin that entire image or reputation which your company has built across a period of time. So the next reason for CSR is also to ensure the brand image and reputation. If a company is contributing positively towards the social issues, or company's investment and activities are socially responsible, then of course the company is going to have a good brand name, good brand image and reputation. You just imagine or think of the name of any company. Simply take up the name of any company in your mind and look at their contribution. Any company which is working profitably, there are a number of researches which have validated with the help of relevant data, and it has been validated by those research papers that the company which is making huge amount of profit, somewhere they are basically socially responsible and they are contributing positively towards the CSR activities. So we all should understand that the brand image and reputation of company is not only coming from the quality of product you are serving, but also with the contribution of you as a company towards the social welfare or towards the concerns of the points of social issues. So if you look at those social concerns your company is able to address, then your company is going to have a good name in the market. The next one is for motivating the employees and stakeholders. If we look at the researches, we find the evidence in those researches that employees who are involved in CSR activities, they have increased motivation and productivity in all sectors of the economy. They feel that in whichever sector they are operating, when they feel that they are involved in CSR activities, my company is involved in CSR activities, they have increased level of motivation that my company is not only working for making profit, for taking concerns of their own, but they are also working for the welfare of the society. That is another important reason why CSR is to be there. Next is to ensure the company to respond proactively towards changing stakeholder agendas, and they are in order to become able to cooperate effectively under a range of business conditions. So if you want your company to be strong enough to have the internal strength, then they need to be socially responsible. This is another reason why CSR is supposed to be there. Next listed reason which we could found here from different researchers is to account positively on its performance to stakeholders in a way which can enhance the company's reputation. And lastly, to provide managers with a framework for managing business in a holistic manner, what many people call as strategic CSR these days. Nowadays people call it strategic CSR. They say that if you are contributing positively towards the social welfare, or if you are responsive towards the social issues, then you would actually be able to provide as a company a framework for managing the entire business in a holistic manner to your managers or to the people who are basically at the end of execution. So those who are at the helm of executing those activities, they basically find a framework from your company. So these are the 7 listed reasons which I could find from the relevant researches on CSR, and these are the most prominent one. These are the one which are repeated by different researches. So I simply took those common ones to put in front of you, that these are the reasons why companies are basically needing CSR. Not only to make profit, but it is not only good for the society, but it is also good for the company to establish a work culture which is making these companies sustainable and successful for long run. Now this is the plight of CSR as on date, the point with which we started our discussion, that what is the current situation of CSR. The current situation of CSR, if you ask me to conclude, I would say that across the world, companies have now realized that without being socially responsive, we will not be able to survive for long run. If we want our company to survive, if we want our company to flourish, to make profit, working towards the welfare of society is something which is inevitable. It is something which is imperative for us in order to become successful. In order to survive in the market, you have to basically contribute towards the social welfare, to the concerns of the society in which you are operating. Now the second aspect of it is, what is the future for CSR? What are the key trends? What is going to be the future face of CSR? Now again, it is based on different researches, and we have tried to find those points, and the points are basically put in front of you just for having a discussion, just for giving you an idea that what can be the future face of CSR. This list is not exhaustive. This is not the end of the key trends, but yes, some of the prominent key trends we are going to discuss here. The first and the foremost one is, which comes in front of us, is inclusivity. So in future you are going to see more emphasis on inclusivity. Whatever plan your company is making, whatever framework your company is creating, whatever project your company is formulating for CSR activities, it is supposed to ensure that it should spread, it should ensure the inclusivity. It should be inclusive, and a strategic approach to CSR which covers all essential ingredients in the governance, environmental, financial, economic, social sustainability nexus, that is more important. So the inclusivity is something which is very important. If we look at the NGOs, governments and companies, they are increasingly realizing that company or NGO programs are not complete and restrained in their effectiveness if they don't address some underlying structural and governmental problems. So they have to basically underline, they have to basically take care of the problems which is witnessed by the society at large. And if you ask me to give an example, for instance, new hospitals or schools in the developing world, they have limited and short-lived impacts, because unless you have the supporting infrastructure of trained staff, it is not going to survive. You are establishing a good hospital, you have created a building of hospital or a school, but you don't have a trained staff, you don't have a doctor, you don't have a teacher. What is the use of that project? So we have to not only ensure that a project is being established, but you have to ensure as a company that it is also run properly, consistently and constantly. Next is scalability. Scalability will also become a watchword in future. And what do we mean by scalability? When we say scalability, we define it as having one niche area or a product for CSR. That is not going to be enough, because all products will need to be responsible. The products, suppose if you are dealing with 10 products and your one product is socially responsible, the other remaining 9 are not. So that is not going to serve the purpose. You have to ensure that it should be scalable. There would be emphasis on supply chain. This is going to be another trend. The greater emphasis on supply chains, and it could become the big story for the rest of the decade after the events such as BP's British Petroleum's Deepwater Horizon tragedy, and these financial subsidiaries, they are needing more control. And if you look at the background of rating agencies with no obvious accountability, mortgage slicing, emerging market cost and conditions of work, etc., you find that this is going to be another issue, that you have to put some emphasis on supply chains also. Companies, the next trend which we are going to witness is companies will have tended to shift more to make a big impact in a few areas rather than a system wide approach, and this trend is likely to continue, because companies are not going to contribute towards every area. They are basically having their own selective approach, the area in which they select an area, and they are basically contributing. Number of examples are there. If you take Nestle as a company, they had a shared value approach, and number of schemes are there by the companies which are basically setting the tone of the future of CSR. And one more very exciting and surprising trend is that the role of government is going to increase with the presence of legal framework for CSR. They will have to play increasing role because you are having your own legal framework. So role of government is going to increase. The lesser known sustainability issue of biodiversity will also rise up. Emerging markets and where the energy is, and one can expect to see a lot of innovation in their CSR agendas. So with this, my dear learners, I tried to tell you that CSR has definitely moved from the outside to the mainstream. Now it is in the mainstream, and every company which is willing to survive for long, which is willing to flourish in the market, they have to become socially responsible. So with this, I am concluding this very topic of mine. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.